First thing, I mean, you founded the label in 1990. What was the initial intention in the very beginning? I mean, it might have changed now, but what was it initially?
No, it's still the same. Just put out some tunes. Initially, I suppose it was just me working on my own, just wanting to put out some music myself. But it's still the same. We just put tunes out so that we can hear them out at the weekend, either ourselves playing them or our friends that are DJs, and that's why we make them.
And is there do you have a kind of overall, is there an overall thing that is Moving Shadows? Is there an overall ethos that you kind of stick to?
Pretty much that, really. It's just doing everything for the weekend. We live for that. Not quite as I don't know, silly sounding as that, really, but because it is quite a big thing. There's a whole scene that's part of music and lifestyle. It isn't just about going out and getting off your face at the weekend. There's a whole angle there, and a business side of it as well. But that's what we really love doing.
We used to get off our faces every weekend, though.
Used to, when we had time.
We ain't got time to get off our faces anymore. Well, I am.
All the time, though.
All the time.
Goldie, what about you? I mean, I know you have a working relationship that's well known with Rob, but I mean, as far as Moving Shadow, I mean, what do you kind of think from a kind of different perspective than April?
Well, I was always with Reinforced as an independent. Rob was the only other independent out there. I came into the scene and I was listening to early stuff with Too Bad Mice and stuff. We both used to go to the same club. He's got a rage, and I used to hear it from I was from the outside, so I heard early Moving Shadow stuff when it was an established label. Do you know what I mean? Same as Reinforced, because I was wanting to get onto Reinforced at the time, and there was Reinforced, Moving Shadow, and Production House. I mean, really, it were established labels. You know what I mean? And I think it was just the kind of mutual respect with working with Rob, and getting to know the guys behind it. Because I think when it was like rave music and the culture of it, we wanted to just you wanted to see the people behind it, because it was faceless. It was really cool because it was just kids who were making the music. Do you know what I mean? And some of the biggest tunes, which were like the anthems. I think Blame was one of the big ones, wasn't it, for me? And Wear Mass for me. It was Wear Mass, wasn't it?
It was
getting mixed up, didn't I? Wear Mass was one of the biggest influences when I heard Groove play that, and it just had the. It was really bad because I'd been in the States. So I got back and it was really like UK raw, and I think then I just always wanted to kind of hook up and see each other out. And I guess I just got into what Rob was about and tried to, we did our first project. What was it with?
Fury.
No, it was a remix. It was.
That you did, yeah.
It was a remix that it was wrong. I was talking about phrases and I messed up a few times trying to get it sorted, and then. I think it works better later on now because Rob's very. It's got an established label. It's an independent label. I've struggled to keep mine independent and do what I've got to do, and. Here we are, like 3 or 4 years later in the West End. Do you know what I mean? In the Trident building. Do you know what I mean? It's now Moving Shadows headquarters and my headquarters for doing our projects together and stuff. It's quite strong. That is. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a strong statement. It says it, in a short space of time. I mean, Rob's worked very hard to do that, and I've been very kind of like on the scene, going out all the time. And I think that's the kind of balance. It's more of a bond, do you know what I mean, with that.
I mean, sort of if you go back, I mean, Goldie's kind of brought things up to date from his perspective, but it's sort of looking back, I mean, from the initial, I mean, those early releases, I mean, how do you feel about, the very sort of number 1 and number 2?
Classics. Yeah, there's nothing that's ever been put out that I'm embarrassed to have put out. It's just some good tracks on there. They've always been a period of the time of the scene, and they've always meant a lot to us and everyone else at the time. So we're well proud of everything that's been put out.
I mean, is there any kind of, because the label has a reputation for the varied artist roster. I mean, it's all kind of has a common thread, which is a similar sound, but everybody's doing their own thing and pushing the sound, and it's evolving. So I mean, as far as kind of, not for want of a better word, but the kind of A&R and what you choose to actually put out, I mean, is there a kind of strict or kind of a thing that you keep to?
The only thing is, it's just a reflection of the scene. Whatever the scene happens to be doing, that's what we do, because that's what we are doing, the way we live our lives. So should the day ever come when the scene starts making guitar rock music, then maybe we'll be doing that as well. But
yeah, well, I don't know. No, we do it, so I think it's
no, but that's the way. It's not, nothing's going to change that radically, but whatever is happening within our scene at the moment is how we live our lives, and it has a certain style to it that we keep within. We don't go out, and we're not forcibly going out and changing it and going to make it into that.
Oh yeah, I think that it's the DJs that change that as well. The cutting edge DJs that are doing that, they respond to, well, for me going out and get off my nut, they respond to the mixes.
But people have to give them the tunes.
Yeah, but those two tunes then cause something else, which then makes the artist go back and bounce. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if like, let's follow what he's doing. I've never followed what anybody's doing. I just do my thing. But I think most labels that started off like that, it was always about getting to the middle of the DJ set, and they bounce off, I don't know, they bounce off a Moving Shadow tune with it could have been a Living Dream tune, or it could have been a Living Dream tune into a Reinforced tune or whatever else, but it was in the middle where something else went back and you go, right, and you go back. So that's where it creates the triangle, do you know what I mean, with that kind of thing.
I mean, there's always a thing as well, although you say you're not going out to change anything, but there's kind of a thing that I think most people are doing with labels, and especially DJing as well, is actually keeping the scene moving forward. So it's not actually sort of trying to change it, but as you say, sort of those things in the middle. That's where,
but that's the thing that's always
created. That's
always fresh and exciting for us, because it is always changing. That's why we love doing and being part of it, and being involved and making tracks that do change.
But you're forced to change. You don't really look back on it. Some of the stuff that when we're doing it, it's like we've grown up in this. We've grown up in drum and bass. We've grown up in it. So, when I was mixing Phil Collins with Amen Brothers, it was like you're having fun with the music and you're enjoying it. Jungle has become like the kind of overcurrent of it. But drum and bass has always been the undercurrent of it. We just happen to. It just happens to be the only music that is on that cutting edge, so you can't help but get involved in technology. You can't help but be on the cutting edge of it. So everything then turns back around 3 years later and looks at this as being whatever it is, because it's the bottom line of it all. So for us, it's good. I think for you to agree, we have a catalogue of stuff to look back on. I'm now sampling stuff from early stuff, early Scotty stuff, early Nookie stuff, early whatever. We could now, there's a catalogue of looking back on it. Before we couldn't really look back, we were just doing it. It's a melting pot. We were just laying stuff down, like we said, just for the weekends. And then all of a sudden, we've just really now had to become analytic about it and look back and think, wow, do you know what I mean? All of a sudden it's caught up with us, but we've had the technology with it as well, you see. So, and that's what's made it, cutting edge, I guess. You can't help but be on that edge. There's nothing else you can do. We're just joyriding, and for, everybody on the scene, be it from V Records to Carl, to whatever. So from different labels to different labels, they've all evolved, and now those artists that we've all worked with are now in some way or another doing their own album projects. The bigger picture, the wider audience, whatever else, and it all comes to us. We're not trying to put it out there. You're not trying to say, right, how can we catch this market? The market turned around and said they actually happen to be having it. Do you know what I mean?
So sorry to interrupt, both, but Rob, as far as you're concerned, does Moving Shadow in a way have a role within this? Within the scene kind of thing, within the whole thing that's happening? Is there something that, at the end of it, if you look back, how do you kind of see it within?
Yeah, very much, because we've been here and we've been structured enough to keep part of that going. And there have been organisations and certain people that have been involved in the scene that have been instrumental in keeping the whole thing going forward anyway, and Moving Shadow has been a part of that. That's why we're still here. We've been doing it right from the beginning. So,
what do you personally attribute to the success of it? I mean, is it that you've been quite in, you know, your whole thing is the integral, you know, sticking to the roots. You are one of the original independents and you've stayed that way. I mean, do you think that has a lot to do with the kind of the mentality behind the label, has to do with the success of it?
I think the success of the whole scene is that nothing of it's been forced. It's just people having a go and doing what they like doing, and it's not been people sitting down and going, we want to create this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that, and having a big plan. Most of it's kind of just tripped over and fallen over by itself, and it's bumbled along a bit through its existence, and that's been, you know, kept it fresh. There's nothing.
I think the main thing is that other people's attitudes have changed towards it. Like, you know,
people have come round.
People have come round, but also there's the people who have kind of like, you know, they were, you know, now eating their rats, which is old news. You know what I mean? But it just being normal about it and just being keeping integrity to the music is something which has always happened, and when it's become overground, we've just gone back underground, and now it's the point where we can do really what the hell we want to do, which is why me and Rob decided, you know, I've said, you know, I want to do an album project. I believe we can keep it where we want to keep it, and have control over it. So much control that drum and bass artists have over any other thing, because there's nothing else to judge it, and when there's nothing else to judge that, then it's fresh, and people are going to be hesitant to do that. There have been people who've done record deals and they get shafted by the record company, or the artist runs around with the cash or whatever else, which is to be expected. But I think that the balance is now better than it ever was, because the artists have control. People are looking beyond the inverted commas commercial jungle things, you know what I mean? And like I said, Rob's just gone on, carried on executing what you're executing, and I think it makes it better generally, do you know what I mean? Because it's just something that's going to just carry on getting wider and wider, whatever, you know. People, you know, say America and everything else and blah blah blah. I think it's also the patience. You know, I'm very impatient with a lot of things. You know what I mean? I'm very hot-headed with things like that. I think Rob's patience with Movie Shadow has been outstanding in terms of, like, you know, to be patient, get out of bed. You know what I mean? Going, like, you know, put a push behind you that sometimes you don't really have. It's like I go out on the scene and go out and Ryder will keep me going on a music tip and handle all the boys and Frosted all playing. It gives you the kind of like spirit of it to carry on doing it. I think with Rob, it gives you the backbone of knowing that that we can do productively what anybody can do in any other studio, but and even better. Do you know what I mean? From Trevor Vaughan's studio to anybody's studio, I just think it, you know, it's nice and big and everything else, but I still think we can wipe the floor with people experimentally, no matter what it is. Do you know what I mean? Which is what, you know, I've got something to bounce off that way. You know, artistically I can bounce off, and we can technically go and do things which we could never done before. Production on this music was very trashy to begin with, which was quite rebel, do you know what I mean, with the music, but that's the sound of what it was then. And now, you know, it's the production's become quite lush, but it's also become quite hard. It's gone back to how it was, gone back to being dark and hard, and I think a cross between everything. Do you know what I mean?
Has your working relationship stayed pretty much the same since you first started working together?
Well, he shares my pants now, and I wear his t-shirts. Yeah, it gets better though. I think it just gets better. I hope it gets better. Give me a kiss.
Get off.
No, it's good for me because I've learnt a lot. Do you know what I mean? You know, because it all blows up, and you're trying to stay like as in the norm, and you're like, people get freaked out by it. It freaks me out. Do you know what I mean? It freaks me out a bit when people get me bugged out by it, because a bit of just being a character. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's just music we're making. Our relationship's been like, it's just. I couldn't really work with certain people. There's not many people I can work with, do you know what I mean, to be able to, the way that I am, full on and whatever else. So we have our own kind of code with that, do you know what I mean? We have our own kind of language with it. We're married in that kind of sense, do you know what I mean?
How do you cope with him?
With difficulty. I've got this big stick.
No, I've got a monkey barrel. Yeah.
Chain him down to the one side of the seat. Desk.
Yeah. Pins my ears back in there.
Sort of going back to Rob, the kind of progression and development of what's happened as far as the sound through the releases, through the different artists. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you sort of run through how you think, sort of, especially with, say, the this year's releases, the most current releases, how it's actually changed?
What, from time?
Well, kind of from say the start, from all the releases right the way through, kind of, obviously, you know, there's how many? 111.
Yeah.
I mean, just sort of, if you could just sort of run us through how you think the sound has actually developed.
It's all gone through different styles, right from just after the rave days. It came off of that techno kind of influence stuff that we were doing right at the beginning, right through almost what's now called happy hardcore, because it was that kind of rave, now kind of cheesy sound to it.
Happy.
Very happy.
No, but it was the king of cheese. You know, we always say he was the king of cheese. I think Rob was king of cheese.
Anyway.
Yeah, but back to that, we always have this thing about who was the real king of cheese.
We all made cheesy records back then, but that was it. That's what the scene was.
Cheese, I never made any real Stilton. I never really enjoyed out any Stilton, but...
then it went kind of a bit more serious after that, and went very underground, basically because it was the return after all the commercialism of all the rave stuff then, and then came out with some more serious sounds and darker sounds the first time around. That was...
I think I drew out a few there.
Yeah.
Who drew out a few?
And then really right up to through all the jump up stuff, the jazzy stuff, right through to currently the hardcore, the real hard stuff.
Aye.
Yeah, that's the camera. That's the
cameraman.
That's the cameraman messing up big time. Whose name he adopts his wages. So it's cool. He was going again, but you know that's just part of it. We'll sample that. Thank you.
That's off. Anyway.
So right the way through. I mean, and also talking a bit earlier about sort of the sudden, well, not sudden, but over the last couple of years, the interest, which sort of a lot of people must be sort of, that you know from years back.
Gutted because they never signed what they were supposed to.
No, I mean, a lot of you must be laughing, but I mean, those people sort of picking up on drum and bass now. I mean, surely, do they have to, do you think? Not, I mean, is it fine that they haven't had any history, seen how it's developed to this kind of sound? I mean, are you a bit sceptical about people when they sort of pick up on it?
No, because you can't be, because if you have that attitude, it's like, you know, for me, you know, I was always very dubious and very, to make that step to whatever else. People felt being scared of if the record company controls too much. But if you're an artist and you have control of what you have, you just have it or you don't, one or the other. I think from my point is that you know, you can't. You just got somebody into drum and bass when you're young, whatever way we come into it. You can't knock that, because if that's the case, then New York will put a wall around it and no one can listen to hip hop. Do you know what I mean? Or wear a baseball cap to the side and whatever else. Do you know what I mean? It's just that culture. It came from a subculture which then became a multi-million-pound business.
But do you think to actually be able
from
to
the public side?
Yeah, kind of to understand where it's developed.
They don't have to, do they? I mean, do they really have to understand that? You know, it's like, do you have to understand the Wu-Tang album completely around the way? You don't really have to understand that, do you? If you like the music, you like it. You know, what they're rapping about is very internal affairs, really. And what we're making music for, mood-wise, is what's going on in our heads and what goes on at our clubs and goes on there and develops from that thing. Outside of that, it's, when you're talking albums or anything else, it's a daydream or it's a nightmare or it's an experience or something else. And people will understand that when artists are now making albums, they can actually sit down. It's not a compilation album. They can actually sit down and listen to it as an album. Do you know what I mean? It's at that stage, but there's still going to be that cutting edge, and people go to the clubs and get off on it, and they hear something and they think, right, I'll go out and buy that album, I'll go and buy that compilation and listen to what they're listening to. You can't knock the public for doing that, because it's very it is very, very, the word is which I've had the word said to me, actually. It's quite funny, actually. The word is what is that word? That word of elitist. What's it all about, you know? And then it's like, you know, intelligent and all this, you know. It's like we need a Mensa degree to go and listen to drum and bass, you know. You know, it's just music, isn't it? It's rhythm, and that's it. I don't for the public, you know, the public, if they want to get into it, everyone, you know, if they can't dance in time to it or whatever else, or how do we get this stuff, you know. It's very hip and very trendy at the moment, and whatever else, but, you know, it'll still blow over, but the blowing over has kind of stopped now, because the music has become a very integral part of European music, world music now, as opposed to being this is the latest fashion from London. Do you know what I mean? It plays a very big role from people like Barry looking back in it to, I mean, Nine Inch Nails and Henry Rollins, and you know, and these are serious cats that are kind of like looking at, you know, it's a serious lot of people who are looking at it now. Do you know what I mean? Which does mean something if they are looking back on it. Do you know what I mean?
And what were you going to say about it?
With the We Don't Mind, it isn't an elitist thing. Coming from our side of things, it doesn't make a difference who's following it. Like members of the public, you can't say you can't be into it because you weren't in it from the start and things like that. People have had other things to do. They've had other scenes that they've been into for that time, and so what? It didn't matter to us that they weren't into it then. It doesn't matter to us if they are into it now. We just do our thing. If people pick up on it, fine. And if they get something from it, fine. If they don't, they don't. It doesn't bother us.
We were sampling that music anyway. We were sampling world music. You know, when we first started making this music, we were grabbing whatever we wanted to, and there were no rules. So what we were sampling from was like European, UK music and world music, and we were having a laugh with it, you know. So, and it wasn't.
I mean, can you remember back to when you first got involved with doing what you're doing? I mean, can you remember what it was? You know, everyone has different reasons for why they picked up a guitar or why they started playing around with computers and music. I mean, do you know what it was?
Blatantly, mine was just growing up in the UK and being moved around so much that I picked up so much music. I picked up stuff from Stranglers to you know, to Maffini to whatever. I just picked up music along the way, and that's just going around in your head. You grow with it. You remember that music from 10cc to whatever, you know. You remember all these things about the music, and you put it together, and different eras of the music, you know. And I think it's like Rob was a DJ many years ago, and I think he was into his soul stuff, you know. Like, you know, I know he's got a few All Dayers and got a Nottingham, and Rob used to play that kind of music. Do you know what I mean? So you all kind of pick up on those styles of music. You're no different than Massive in that kind of road groove thing. When it used to be 3D, it used to be Wild Bunch. Bristol was a different thing then. It always had that rare groove parties, and each little pockets of these things picked up on American culture. It came there, and it's all inserted from blues in Birmingham or Sheffield we used to go to, and you pick it all up, and it's very UK. You can't really get it anywhere else from that. So it just forms something within its, you know, within its manner, I guess, you know.
And what about you, Rob? I mean,
well, for me, it came really from being, I guess, stuck in a village and growing up in a village. You want to get out as soon as you can, and then you start exploring things and finding different music and things from what you would normally be brought up on. You know, the stuff that you get played by Radio 1 and things like that. So you start to find out there's a whole world of different kind of musics, and the whole soul hip hop side of things was the first thing that I encountered, and that just sucked me up. And then from the technology side of that, really, what with either the DJ mixing and the whole sampling side of things, that really got me going, and that really then started off all of this.
Yeah, I mean, all of this, as you call it, I mean, it's pretty big, all of this. But
yep.
I mean, looking back, I mean, did you ever envisage you'd be at this point now?
No.
I don't think anybody did.
No, but like I say, that's just it. It was never. Nothing of this is ever planned. We've just been doing it, and this is what's grown out of it, and it's living nightmare.
It is, isn't it? No.
I mean, what about you, Gold? I mean, generally, are you kind of? I mean, did you ever think you'd be sort of doing what you're doing?
No, I mean, I've been painting graffiti for 12 years. I just didn't know what I'd do. I just didn't know what, you know, I just thought I'd always be doing that, you know, and I still do that, and this is, I guess, an extension of that, but, you know, it freaks me out. I never thought I'd be making music, and I never thought we'd do what we're doing. When we was finishing the album, we were lying in the bedroom in Stevenage under a desk, just press play, and we think, you know, it's just this mad track, you know, we just done this whole thing, and we just finished off. And we just lied under this desk in Stevenage, and we were like still in the bedroom, still on NS10s, you know what I mean? And Rob's in like semi-detached in Stevenage, you know what I mean? And all that happens now is that it just freaks me out, because I hear all the tracks we put out from the album and everything. All I think about is the A1 driving up there about 120 miles an hour, and it just puts pictures in your head, you know what I mean? And from that point, I always remember that it is such a blow that I guess it has been such a blow that it does knock you back, because you know, as you think, right, double album, you know, it takes you a year and a half to recover. Do you know what I mean? Because it just blows up so much in your face that, you know, we're still where we are. I still live in the same house, you know, in the same flat I've been living in for 7 years. And, you know, the dog gets bigger, you know what I mean? Your mind gets bigger, you know, your body stays the same. So you really are under that kind of thing. None of us knew where it was going, do you know what I mean? And I think that there's so much to look into. It has so much history that even we, like, you know, think, what's that track and what's that? And it's very hard for someone to analyse from the outside. It must be. I'd like to be you for the day to find out what it is that people see from it, because it does freak you out. I think what's important as well is that the amount of different people you meet who you see, you know, in the West End, you go out and buy a sandwich and there's some geezer in a tie and suit saying, like, I was at the club the weekend, yeah, what's that Metalheadz tune, what's that Women Shadow tune, what's that tune on, you know, on Prototype, and what's that, you know, and you think these are normal people that are come from all walks, be it a computer operator, be it an unemployed person, you know, and it's great that the youth culture controls that, you know, they are into that, and they're maybe into indie, they're into drum and bass, they're into, you know, then I think that's what really freaks me out the most, the amount of people that are really now into it, as opposed to just being those A&R interest. The A&R interest now has to listen to demand of what the street kids are into, and
it's real interest as well, because you haven't got people force feeding it to you. You've got to find it out, and you've got to go to these certain clubs. So it's people that are really, really interested in it, and it's in their heart, and that's so much better than going to a normal club and you know exactly what kind of music you're going to hear.
You mean a Sharon Tracy club?
Yeah.
Oops, careful.
Oh, sorry.
You can't be slagging off things, can you? But not on camera. The 100th.
No, I know Sharon Tracy. They're really good friends of mine.
I know you don't.
Did we swear then?
You can swear.
Did I swear then? I don't know if we did swear. Did we swear then?
No, you didn't.
No.
I didn't do?
You didn't.
No.
Okay.
There's a couple of releases that I just want to talk about. The 100th, of course, which features you two and Dom. Can you just sort of give us just a little sort of story behind that, just because we're going to sort of play that?
Well, really, we wanted something a little special to do as the 100th. So I was working with Dom anyway, came up with a tune and thought, there's one side, and then we came up with the other side when we were working together one day, one hard Friday.
Were we drunk? We were something.
We was angry.
We were angry. Yeah, we were upset. I know it was because Sharon nicked my speakers in the car, and Tracy took the keys. It was one of them. I think it's something like that happened.
They're not going to get that joke, Goldie. The other bit won't be in there.
Oh,
so
good.
that's totally irrelevant.
Okay, she doesn't go clubbing, this woman. I can tell she doesn't go out much, does she? You stay in, do you, on the weekends? Okay.
Not all the time.
Really? We never see you at our clubs.
Yes, we've been. We film there even.
I know you do. I saw you. I know Joy was there. I like her.
Who?
You.
Me, well. And the other one is Blueprint.
Yep.
Yeah, is that kind of like the best of, with a few mixes that are different? Or?
We're talking about Mies.
No, album.
Oh, right.
See, Goldie doesn't know about this.
I'm a too bad mice man myself. I'm a too bad mice man, that's why. I don't know about this album. I'm going to stay about this conversation now.
Basically, it's just, a bit of a best of and a bit of some exclusive new tracks from some of the artists on the label. Not all of the best of, because we've kind of gone about halfway back, and we may in the future be doing a even earlier best of, but that's to be left on.
I did say to you to put Weremouse on
Best
there.
of cheese.
No, but Weremouse was not cheese. He was never cheese. It was one of my favourite tunes. It's not cheese.
Original Bomb Scare on there then, maybe.
Yeah, well, someone's doing a mix, so you do know about some of that, don't you?
It was only 3 samples, but you know, that's just how it was.
Goldie's doing one of the mix CDs.
Right. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, there you go.
On my list. Actually,
there you go.
That's something I've got to remind you of, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you've got to remind me of.
So you want a copy of Weremouse for that, don't you?
Actually,
that's what you've got to remind me of, isn't it?
That's what I've got to remind you of.
Yeah.
See, that's what happens. It's this thing what happens.
Right. See.
Can I leave now?
But it's on camera now, so you can't get out of it.
I better go and get my decks out. I'm going to go in there and get my decks ready.
All right, and just finally then, I mean, where would you like to see it going? Just as a nice little sum up, future moving shadow.
I'd like to see it carry on, basically, which it will, and that's about all. Don't have any grand plans for it. Don't have any big ideas that we're going to take over the universe with it.
I mean, is it, as you said before, I mean, do you sort of see the development of the releases and what you're doing with the label is affected by what's actually happening, kind of thing? Not that it's heavily influenced by it, but you sort of move with what's actually happening. So
it is, yeah.
I mean, what if the scene actually kind of radically quite changed?
Well, for one thing, I don't think it would, because the people that are at the forefront of the scene and effectively controlling it, but not without knowing, you know, would not change that radically. It's a movement that's ruled by, it's very democratic. There's lots of people that are in control of it. They don't know they are, but they are. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you've got to see this. You've got to see this. Check this out. Let it rip. It's fucking wicked, isn't it?
Anyway, where were we?
Anyway, you were saying about sort of how you see it. I mean, basically evolving and how moving shadow. I mean, it's moving shadow that we're
exactly not Goldie. I don't think it's not going to change radically. It's always going to be doing what it's doing, and that's kind of the nicest thing on any kind of planning that we happen to do, which is very minimal. We always know that we can be safe with the knowledge that we're going to have this around, and it's going to be around for a long, long time. So, but of actually planning to change it, there's nothing like that. We're just going to carry on. We have a good time,
and your other endeavours, clubs, showcases. Well, I mean, you still sort of, that's all, and Section 5 and everything.
Everything. There's many sides to it. You see, it's not just about making records, and really, the record company is a bit of a byproduct, and the whole scene includes people making records, DJs, clubs, shops, magazines now, you know, there's all of that to it, and we have a little part in all of those, basically because that is the life we lead. So. And
you managed to do it, and you're sitting here.
Yeah, very tired, and travelling the world and all that.
You're off to Japan tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, just got back from the States and Germany, so which is why I'm tired. And Japan tomorrow.
Is it just, I mean, just obviously must be just total enthusiasm that keeps you going?
Yeah, it's great now. I mean, I'm DJing again. I didn't DJ in the UK for about 6 years.
Back to basics?
Yep. Played it back to basics, and which is a highlight of my life, I think, so far. It's really good. But DJing again, it's just gone full circle for me, because that's how really I got into this whole scene, and it's just great again. Really sets me up as soon as I put the record on it. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, it makes me feel 10 years younger again, so because that's when I started doing it.